Hello, Leapers. It's Matt and Albie here with the Quantum Leap podcast. And we have with us a special guest. We have writer, producer, director, actor, songwriter, voice of Ziggy, or as we like to call her, friend to the podcast, Deborah Pratt. Deborah, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I am outstanding. I am absolutely outstanding.
You are outstanding. And it's great to have you back. So we've invited Deborah on to talk about a couple of things. The new series of Quantum Leap has just started, so we definitely want to talk about that and see what you can tease for us, what we can expect to see over the next
all the scripts.
6, 7 weeks. Don't you dare! Okay, if you hold them up to the camera very slowly and turn them one page at a time, that would be ideal. We'll still be here in 6 or 7 hours, but I think that it'll be a podcast worth watching. But before we get to that, what we really want to talk to you about is Warrior One, which is your graphic novel project that's just launched on Kickstarter, right?
Yes.
So let's start with a nice open question. What can you tell us about Warrior One?
Warrior One, first of all, is, I don't know if anybody has read them, but it's based on my Vision Quest book series. It's backwards. Anyway, so I've written 4. I owe a 5th and a prequel, maybe a 6th. But the 4 of them out there, and I thought I actually did a short film with my daughter Troyan Belisario on Warrior One years ago, before she was famous on Pretty Little Liars. And I never got the special effects right, and I wasn't happy with it. So I put it on a shelf. And then a little while ago, I said, I want to tell this story, because what it is it's a story thread within the Vision Quest world. And she's not a character in the book, but her mother and her brother are. And they're key characters, starting in, I think, book 3. But if you don't, let me give you the big picture of the Vision Quest world in Warrior One. It's Earth in the not too distant future. The great quakes of 2029, get ready, have already happened. It changed the world as we knew it. So there are maps in it, and I've redone all that. And South America sank, but it domed itself at the last minute. So now it's an underwater city. But the continent of Atlantis, which is really Atlantia. The S was an A, but we never translated it right. The continent of Atlantia rose, and people started to go there and settle. So we humans survived. We unified, basically, as a planet. We had to get it together. 7 major corporations came together, and through their various systems helped bring us together. And we became this amazingly unified planet. And then a series of things happened, and we put our genetics into animals, and we created these alternate species. And those that were part human, their humanity was so new to them, they remembered the powers that we'd forgotten, and they started to teach them back to us. And then we put our genetics into machines, and the machines become sentient, and they look at our history of greed and violence and war, and they say, these are not worthy stewards of this amazing planet. And that's where this begins. So it's 118 AQ after Quake. I started time over. And we meet this young woman named Jetta A. And Jetta is a normal teenager. She's 17, 18 years old. She's great at soccer, which is this kind of anti-gravity soccer game. She's also an amazing archer. And her mother and father are taking her to the first World's Fair on Atlantia, which is across the continent in Atlant City. And when she gets there, she meets a commander. She meets all these people that we're going to then continue to meet within the graphic novel series. And it's really an awakening of a young girl when her life changes in one single day, and how you become a hero. How do you remember the powers that you've forgotten? And how do you become a leader to save your country, to save your continent? So I love the characters. I got the most amazing artist, Vil Wilhelm, who's done like so many incredible comic books. If you're a comic book fan, you know his art from Star Wars, from DC, Marvel, everybody. I've got Candace is a brilliant colorist, and then Catherine is doing the art. And then the book is coming out through the producer is phenomenal. David Capiti is pulling it together for me, if you know David's work. So I feel like I've got a great team around me. And then we've just got reached out to from Epic Games.
Oh, cool.
So I'm really excited about that. You know, it's early announcement on it, but you know, all you who want to come and check out the Warrior One World website and come to the Kickstarter, there's a video of me, which is always challenging. I always loved Ziggy because Ziggy was kind of behind the screen, of me telling about the story and then just seeing some of this artwork. And then there's all kinds of great, you know, things you can get besides the comic book. And there's an absolute comic book, and I do a Ziggy voice offering, and what else? Oh yeah. I mean, truthfully, some of them, there's two that you can have lunch with me. A couple of people. Not a lot.
I know somebody who had lunch with you once, I think.
Yes,
Twice.
And twice, and he didn't have to even bid on it. That was pretty good.
Oh, and
it's worth every penny.
Thank you very much. And I'm thinking of I still have every script from every episode of the original Quantum Leap. So I want to do the trilogy, all 3 scripts as a signed giveaway. And I think Shock Theater. I don't know. Ask your fans which ones they would most want as a signed script that comes with the books and all that kind of good stuff.
That's exciting.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool swag.
The first thing that struck me, I immediately backed the project just because I saw it was Deborah Pratt and David Campetti. So I was in even before I watched the video. And then once I backed it, I kind of did some more research, and like the story, of course, continuing the book series, and the visuals are just gorgeous in this thing. So I'm super excited for it.
Thank you. I am too. They really are beautiful. Will is like off the charts. I mean, David sent me like all these artists, and I got to Will's, and I just went, oh yeah. This is my story. This is the way it looks. This is the world. So I'm really excited.
I think that the thing that really intrigues me, and this is probably a general vision question. We all know you from Quantum Leap. Some people know you from other things as well, but Quantum Leap is such a real, relatable, down-to-earth piece of science fiction, just about. That it's about history and people, and it's the heart, the hope, the humor, etc. This is everything you've just described is so big and so fantastic. What was it like pivoting from doing all the work on Quantum Leap and then throwing yourself into this world? Was that why you did this? You wanted to do something completely different?
Well, I'll tell you something. I kind of had a vision of this when I was 13. I'll never forget it. It was definitely a future Earth. It was really clear what we had done and what we had changed. It hadn't really been formulated in my mind, but it was a mirror image of our world today projected into a future world tomorrow. So there are still things that we as human beings are dealing with. The splicers that are part human and part animal or fish or creature or whatever, how certain people feel about them. So there's still that mentality of prejudice. If you're not like me, who are you? That I get to talk about. Hope, which is in all my writing, is still a key force within the storytelling. And then we are all heroes. We are the hero we have been waiting for. And that's what I wanted Jetta A to be. And so over the years, I tell this story. It's one of but I don't tell it often. But it's when I first came out here, I pitched the idea. I think I was all of 21 years old to David Goober. I got on a show called The Starlets, and they were following 6 starlets around, and it was like my first job in television that wasn't music related. And we're sitting in this office, and my job was to interview him. Some of the girls interviewed like stars from the 40s. And so I'm sitting waiting for Peter Goober Peter Goober and I are still waiting for the lighting. And I said, I have this idea. I have this idea for a science fiction story. It takes place Earth in the not too distant future. And I'm like reeling into my pitch, not knowing what I'm doing at all. And he goes, stop. Science fiction is dead. And I went, well, no, it's not. It's 1972. Science fiction will never be dead, or 73, whatever it was. Anyway, he goes, oh, yeah, I just turned down, what's his name, George Lucas with this Star Wars thing. And everybody in town has turned him down. And I went, well, what Star Wars? And so he goes, I don't know, it's a space opera. I don't know. It'll never sell. Science fiction is dead. So I do my interview, and I see that it's been sold to 20th Century Fox. So I happened to meet a lawyer from 20th Century Fox, and I say, can you get me a copy of this Star Wars script? And he goes, oh, yeah, sure. So I get a 140-page Star Wars script and a 10-page Bible. And it's so early that R2-D2 and C-3PO aren't even in it yet. There's like 10 Ewoks, basically, if you've ever seen it. Jump another year, they're casting, and I see a little blurb in the Variety or the Reporter that says casting for Princess Leia. And I went, and there's a telephone number up in San Francisco. So I call, and I get this man on the phone, and I said, hi, my name is Deborah Pratt. I'm an actress, and I saw you were casting. Could I submit myself? How do I do that to come and read for you for Princess Leia? And he goes, well, are you Irish? And I went, what? He says, are you Irish? And I went, well, as a matter of fact, I am, if Black Irish counts, because truthfully, I did my DNA. I got a lot of Great Britain, England. The Pratts are pretty much all up in there. So needless to say, I didn't get an audition. I didn't get anything. Cut to a year later, I get a job singing and dancing with Debbie Reynolds. So when Debbie goes off to do her costume changes, myself, another girl, and a guy, we come out and we do song and dance to keep the audience in Vegas entertained. I come over for my costume fitting, and it's the day Carrie Fisher gets Star Wars. And who comes down the steps? Carrie Fisher. And I go, Carrie, oh my God, you got Star Wars. And she goes, science fiction is dead. I said, no, it's not. I said, this is going to be, she says, no, it'll never go anywhere. And I went, yeah, well, it's, I read your script. I think it's really fascinating. And she says, no, Mother gave us a 35 millimeter camera, and we're making real movies, Todd and I. That's her brother, Todd Fisher. And I went, yeah. So Carrie goes off, and I must have just looked brokenhearted. And Debbie goes, what's the matter? And I said, she didn't even want to do it. How did she even get the job? And she goes, I called Sir Alec Guinness. I told him to hire my daughter. I said, wait a minute, is that how it's done? And she goes, oh, baby, it's who you know in Hollywood. I said, would you be my mom?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my connection to Hollywood. And when I saw it and read it, and it had the kind of hope that I want in the Vision Quest, that I wanted. And then I went, well, George got the vibes from the universe. He got it in front of me because he's a guy, and he had just done American Graffiti. And so I just kind of went, okay. And I put it on a shelf. And it wasn't until after Quantum Leap that I said, George didn't follow through. I'm doing this the right way. So I started writing.
In an alternate timeline where Eric Stoltz is in Back to the Future, I would have had your cardboard cutout stand up in my house for 20 years. So, as Princess Leia. One of the things I wanted to ask about this Warrior One is it's a new format. It's a graphic novel, so people that might get into this universe that haven't before with the books. Is it a good jumping on point for people that are into graphic novels that might not have picked up the books yet?
It is, because it sets up the world, which is what I wanted it to be. I wanted the Vision Quest is a very complicated, because I lay out the entire world. So you go to San Gelino, you go to, Station City in Asia. San Gelino is what's left of California. You go to Pangaea in the third book. But I set up the world. As a matter of fact, it took me 6 months before I wrote a word to lay out the Bible of the world. I wrote an 80-page Bible that sets up the world, what happened. I did a whole history of what happened from whenever I started, 2002, got back into it, to 118 AQ. And then I talked about medicine. I talked about money. I talked about travel. I talked about fuel. I talked about energy. So all those things, food, clothing, where had we advanced, to where I created, there's a whole storyline. And when you're 20 years old, you have to do what's a rite of passage. Everybody, before you get to buy land, get a job, do anything when you come out of school, you have to learn how to survive. So you're sent to one of several places. There's one called Passage Island in the book. But basically, you learn how to find food, water, shelter, all the things that Jeddah does. So basically, Jeddah is following a single player line in the book, where you watch her learn how to survive. How do you make a fire when you don't have necessarily 2 sticks to rub together, but you've got leaves, and you happen to have like a battery and some steel wool, and you can connect those and then get a spark and start a fire. Or you have what, I can't think of the name of the lotion. Oh,
like antibac.
Because it's got enough alcohol in it so that it can help you start a fire. So it's something as basic as that. And I went to DICE, which is a big gaming convention. And they had this kind of roundtable dating thing. And so they said, just go in and sit and talk to people. You may find writers, you may find artists that you want to work with, the whole 9 yards. So I'm sitting there and going from table to table, and I start telling the story of Warrior One. And not one, but 3 people were so moved by it. And they were all in their early 20s, mid 20s. And this one girl started to cry. And she said, I need this game. At the time, it was a gaming convention. So I was talking about the game. I need this game because I feel so unprepared for the future of this planet. And she said, please, please, please make this game. It's important. And that made me feel incredible. So then once you get to the point in the story and in the game and in the world, because I want to build the whole world, you will feel good about yourself as a survivor. Then you got to go to war. What does that feel like? What happens if there's suddenly a war and you've got to pick up a weapon and make the decision, either they're going to kill me or I'm going to kill them? What is that conversation about? So I think in that respect, it's very Quantum Leapish, because you're suddenly in somebody else's shoes going, what would I do? Which is what Quantum Leap is. What would you do if suddenly, you were a Black person facing the Ku Klux Klan and you weren't really Black? Thank you, Scott Bakula. So, and then it goes on from there to teach you to become a leader. How do you gather people? How do you rally the forces that will take to save your homeland? And that's the journey that I've created within the books and within Warrior One. And I want it to be as interactive as possible. I don't know if anybody knows, but between the first and second book, I had I had an amazing website that was cost me a fortune. But anyway, people who read the book were encouraged to create a character in the story, your own character. And then once you had that character, you could post them in text and post your story. So I got a lot of great writers. And then your job was, because you could read auras, and you had an aura, and you could put your aura on other people. This is lore in this, the lore in the story. You could aura up somebody else's story. And there were two that were so successful and word up that I took the characters and wrote them into the rest of the book. And to me, that's the exciting part of where our industry is going, that we need to be part of the creation of these worlds, because we are a part of the creation of these worlds. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I'm all in.
And it more than answers Albie's question. I think it answers one of the ones I asked earlier on as well, because you've taken something so big and so fantastical and made it so relatable, which is what all good science fiction should be. I'm just interested to know, you talked about the fact that this has been, the book range was percolating for quite some time, and then you started working on a while back. Why 2023 for the graphic novel? Why has this come up right now?
2029 is right around the corner.
So you've got to get this out quickly before it's out of date.
I got to get us ready for what's coming. Yeah. I don't
Fair
know.
Enough.
It's weird because right when I started working on it, there were earthquakes in the Middle East, and it was from fracking. They were fracking, the minerals out of the ground, and the earth is destabilizing. And places that have never had earthquakes in their life are having earthquakes. And a lot of it's from fracking. So I'm looking, again, as a science fiction writer, I think one of the most important things that you do is you look at the science of today and you imagine it forward, which is how I write. And I think that's what I saw coming. And back in, the 70s, that whole fracking system was just starting. So everything that I've written in those books, and I think at some time or another, I will probably put out the 80-page Bible to let people see where I was thinking that long ago and how it evolved. Cloning, you look at what's happening with cloning today, because there's a whole cloning history that's built in. The genetic manipulation that we're doing, but the idea and what gave me the idea for genetic machines was the fact that RNA replicates itself, and so it becomes the ultimate storage place for information. So it made absolute sense.
We're very close. I mean, with New York flooding and hurricanes in San Diego and all this stuff happening, 2029 is coming soon, so it's a perfect time for this. I mean, it's like the world around us will immerse us in this story almost.
Yes, I think that's why I had to wait. I think that the universe just said, "Chill, go create quantum leap. Chill."
I'm glad you did, so you could create Quantum Leap and be involved in that, because a big part of Quantum Leap is the heart and the everything you brought to Quantum Leap. Because as a Quantum Leap fan, I don't know about you, Matt, but when Deborah Pratt episodes are coming up on the rewatch, it's always like you get excited because it's got more heart than your average episode. So is there going to be that heart in that this graphic novel?
Absolutely. I think that's imperative. And I said to all the writers on the new show, if you have these 4 ingredients, at least 3 out of the 4, but definitely if you can have all 4, and that's a challenge, you have history, you have hope, you have humor, and you have heart. Hope, history, heart, humor. If you have those 4 things, you've got a real, true quantum leap. And I think we've got those. Episode 205. Wait, let me check. Episode 205 is by Benjamin Rabb and Derek Hughes, and it has all of those. it will have all of those. I can't tell you anything more about it, but it really has. The only thing that's missing in that one that could have, just taken it in a home run would be A Kiss with History. A real kiss with history.
Is that the episode that takes place during the LA riots?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. But from a very unique perspective that I think Ray will make brilliant. I mean, he has made it brilliant. Who am I kidding? I cried.
I'm excited and scared for it because obviously it's going to be compared to Black on White on Fire, which is one of the best episodes of Quantum Leap. So even going into that genre again, that kind of episode, that feel is kind of scary to us fans because, it's almost like sacred ground because Black and White on Fire is such a good episode. So we're kind of worried but excited at the same time. So without spoiling it, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it.
They were smart enough to take a pivot and give it a different perspective from a different point of view. And if you know the history of what happened, what launched that riot, I think it's a story that needs to be told in that sense of where that first incident happened before Rodney King. There was a trigger that happened before that. And it was just brilliantly done. And Magic has a great storyline in it. So they're really starting to dip into this incredible cast that they have. Ernie Hudson is amazing. And he has so much heart. He brings the heart on a whole other level in that episode. And so, yeah, we hit it with that. And that's not to say that others don't either. The show is really, I think, blossoming into a really, really good storytelling venue. I mean, we get to do a movie every week. And we have a charming, smart, seriously cute leading man. And we've got, Mason, who brings a whole other level to Ziggy World. And Jen too. Both of them are just crazy smart. Addison is a woman perspective. I mean, we forget that she was supposed to be the leaper. And I think that Ray is a superstar. I mean, Scott Bakula created an amazing character. And no one will ever touch what he did, what he brought to it. Ray brings another prism, I guess is the best word to put on it. And you get to really pivot a little bit to see the world through his eyes, the history through his eyes. And I think that's important. And if they can write to that, I think it makes it even more global than it already is.
And you mentioned, making a mini movie each week. I'm not spoiling anything that hasn't been revealed in trailers, but this season we've already had the first two air. We've got alien abductions. We've got the LA riots, as you mentioned. We've got something to do with a Nazi, and he gets to fight a Nazi.
Well,
we've got the Salem witch trials. We've got the pyramids in Egypt. I mean, there's so much cool stuff to look forward to. Is there anything in particular besides the one you've talked about from Derek and Ben that you're personally excited about? I know the whole season is looking fantastic, but what's a personal highlight for you?
Well, definitely One Night in Koreatown is a powerful piece. But even though I didn't get to go, I was very angry about that. To Egypt, I think that's just going to be a beautiful show, and I think Chris did a great job on directing it. Chris Grismer. I like there's a great little twist in it that's going to be set up through the whole thing, so that when you see it, you go, okay.
Nice.
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. So
Yeah, fair enough. Now, those are the kind of story arcs that we like, where sometimes they're hidden in plain sight rather than being obviously built on week. It's where they suddenly hit you at the end, and you have to go back and look. I'm completely extrapolating from what you've just said there, but that's my personal hope.
Yeah, you're going to have to go back and look on this one to go, what? Wait a minute, what?
Good.
And it's in there. It's without I See Dead People, it's that kind of surprise twist, where you get it, you see it, and I'll never forget it. And maybe it was like, I don't know, 6 minutes before everybody else in the audience figured it out, because I was doing writer analysis through the whole thing. I said, that's not right. Well, that's not right. Wait a minute. Why did that happen? And then when it happened, I went. And then when it happened, I had to go. I saw the movie 4 times because I thought it was just so brilliantly woven in. I love stuff like that. I'm a true geek when it comes to that kind of stuff.
You fit right in here. We're a bunch of geeks and nerds that just love to overanalyze everything that we love. So.
Hence hours of podcasting.
Yeah.
You guys are great. I just want to take a second to say how good you are on this show, and how personable and how accessible that you are. And you make the questions really compelling for an interviewee. So I feel comfortable sharing my world.
Thank you. You've just validated, well, basically years of my life. So I'm sure Albie feels the same. So good to hear. Moving the topic away from us, because this just makes me feel uncomfortable. I gather at the moment, you probably can't share much at all of this, but I've still got to ask, the writer's room is back up and running. So can you tell us what the plans are at the moment? I know the SAG strike is still going on, so I guess the plans are quite flexible.
There's a cat tail on you.
There is a cat tail. There's a cat attached to it. Don't panic. Good. This is normal.
I know. I'm going to be coming back to direct again. I can say that.
That was one of my questions.
Yes.
But I don't know which episode. I was really pushing for one episode that, for whatever reason, they stopped. I'm trying to remember who was writing it, but it was a musical. Wow. Because I got to tell you, Ray can sing, he can dance, he can do it all. So I went that one. But I heard that, either the network or the studio said, well, no, we don't feel that it's.
We want it to happen. We've all wanted it since the new series started. So hopefully.
See, this is where the fandom forgets how powerful they are. And if they send emails to Universal, NBC Universal, contacted, I guess, NBCU VI.
Links below.
Right. Oh, great. Links below. And just say, we want to see Ray sing. We want to see him dance. Because that was what was so great about Scott. You could walk into his dressing room and say, do you play any sports? And he played every sport. He was incredible. And then I remember once I said, you did a musical on Broadway. He did 3 Men Naked from the Waist Down. And he went, yeah. I said, okay, we're going to do a singing show. And the only one, the first time I walked in and said, how do you feel about high heels and a girdle? And he said, what? I said, you're leaping into a woman. And I'll never forget coming down to the set on that first day after he'd been in those 3-inch high heels. And Ray has somehow escaped them. I've come down to on Guinevere and said, put him in high heels. Let him feel what it's like, because that's what it's about. So they've been kind to him. But I think on the airplane episode, they put him in some serious high heels. And he went, why do women wear these? What's it about?
We're interviewing her on Friday, so we'll make sure to say this is what the fans want to see. Please keep going.
Yes.
Make it uncomfortable for him. We want Ray torture.
Oh, good. Oh, you're talking to
Genevieve.
Genevieve? Oh, good. Tell her I outed her. She's protecting him. Put him in those high heels. and we'll make him dance. You know what they always said about Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire? She did it backwards and in high heels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So give her credit for it, ladies.
Yeah, I think he can do it. He can do it backwards and in high heels too. Ray.
I kind of like the idea of him leaping into Ginger Rogers.
I want the Quantum Leap musical, 100%. Star Trek did it.
Yeah, I want to do a motion picture. You've heard me.
We can. Buffy did it. Star Trek did it. We need Quantum Leap to do it. I mean, we had a little bit of a musical when we had
Man from La Mancha.
Yes, the Man of La Mancha. Yeah. That had me singing that soundtrack for months. But a full on, all dancing, all singing, glittery musical episode of Quantum Leap, I would love that.
We have Mason on the cast. I mean, how can you not?
How can you not? I mean, that would be an incredible moment. Yeah, they are so talented. I got to see them in London in Cabaret.
Same. Yeah. I love Mason in Quantum Leap, but I saw that and thought they're wasted. At least half their talents are wasted on Quantum Leap. It's just, yes, Cabaret was stunning.
It really was. The fact that they tore that theater and recreated it into a theater in the round made the whole experience from the moment you walk through the door.
Yes.
Interactive in that way.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I forgot how relevant it was until that ending number.
Mm-hmm.
It just gave me chills. It haunted me for quite a while. Because it's relevant to today, to so many things that are happening. And we need to see the play again to just remember the warning signs that are out there. And that's what Quantum Leap does so well. And I go back to Quantum in the fact that we always believed how intelligent our audiences are. And the important thing is you don't tell them what to think. You show them both sides of the story and say, you choose. Because it gives you an insight into who you are. And because we've lost this ability to communicate as a country, as a world, so many people just don't want the responsibility of contributing to the planet. They want to be told what to do. And that's not who we are as humans. We come together. We are at our best when things are at their worst. Was that Starman? Am I a nerd?
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We are at our best when things are at their worst. And that's when we come together. When you think about the great incidences that happened, to the people in this country and how we rallied together and stood together and went off and fought for democracy for the right reasons, not just for oil, but for democracy and for freedom. And that's the catchphrase of Warrior One. The catchphrase is, when freedom is taken, a warrior is born. And I thought it was such an important truth to put out there. And the idea that drove me to do it in the first place, I think, was not 9/11. It was 9/11. And 9/11 had happened, the country shut down. And in my neighborhood, everybody sent a message out that we were all going to come out and light candles at 7:00 for those we lost in the Twin Towers and on the planes. And so I'm standing out there and I give candles to Troyan and I give a candle to Nicholas, and he's maybe 8. She's, I guess he's he's 11. No, he's 10. And so she's maybe 15. And I'm giving them these candles to light, and I'm lighting their candles. And my beautiful daughter looks at me and she says, I will never know in my lifetime the freedom that you have known in yours. And it sent chills through me because proof of fact, she's absolutely right. We were blessed to have known the world before 2001, where, there was security, but it wasn't what it is today. And to have to grow up in it, we have to really respect everybody. COVID, I look at my granddaughters. I have granddaughters now. And the fact that the beginning of Aurora's life was in a mask. She didn't see the expressions of people's faces. She had to wear a mask all the time, and people had to wear a mask around her. And I think she was the one that took the longest to give it up because she wanted to feel safe. I'm sure that's what it was. So I believe we need the kind of stories that I'm writing to feel good about ourselves, about our world, that we have the opportunity to have a say in it and to make it a better place. And if we could just be human, you don't have to be a color. You don't have to be a gender. You just have to be human. And if we get there, if we evolve to that point, this would be a hell of a planet. This is paradise. We got everything that we need. This is the only planet with wine that I know of. Everybody's talking about going to Mars. There's no vineyards on Mars. Who are you kidding?
I love that.
Well, there we go. You've managed in the course of one interview to give us history, heart, hope, and humour. There we go. Congratulations. You're at it again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope everybody enjoys Warrior One, comes to warrior1world.com and comes, give $1. Give me $1. Just let me know that you're out there. And that when this book and the Vision Quest books and the games and the movies and all the other surprises I have for you, I think I want to change entertainment as we know it. So
cannot wait. And we'll put a link to the Kickstarter on the video so everyone can follow that. Please back it. We really want to see this. So Albie and I set up this interview because we want to see this succeed, because we have backed and we want to see this thing in production. So
I want that signed book in my hand. I'm going to read it as soon as it gets here.
Yay!
Yes. So go check it out. You will not be disappointed. It looks like a great Kickstarter. Albie and I backed it straight away. If this interview hasn't quite convinced you to do it, watching the video that leads the Kickstarter absolutely will. So go check it out. Deborah, thank you for sharing more heart, history, hope, whether it's through Warrior One or Quantum Leap, and humour with us today. It's been fantastic talking to you.
Oh, thank you both. You're the best. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I am so grateful for the fans that love this show. And remember your superpower. Your superpower is, if you want something from the networks or the studios, send them an email. If you really want to freak them out, send them a letter. Because they won't know what to do with it, but they will read it. Every letter counts for 1,000 people who didn't write. Every single letter. So I don't know where emails factor in that algorithm. But thank you. Thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure. It's great to see you, gentlemen. And anytime, I'm here for you.
Thank you.